Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to have with me today Sophie Chang, Senior Vice President, Product Marketing at Sinch. Sophie, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Well, despite it being rather warm where you are in Texas and a little cooler here in Vancouver, Washington, it's that time of year again. We're approaching Christmas. I can't believe it. We're actually talking about surveys and discussions about the shopping season. The headline is Cyber Monday survey results from Sinch, Black Friday survey results from Sinch. So we're going to be diving into that. And the big headlines actually are going to be great opportunities, great insights for resellers and others in terms of preparing companies for more modern ways to do commerce and so on. But Sophie, before we dive into all that, what is Sinch?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a leading cloud communications provider, which essentially means we help businesses across the globe deliver business critical communications. So we work with any channel across the globe. Think email, messaging such as SMS, RCS, WhatsApp, and voice. And we help our customers deliver impactful marketing campaigns, timely customer updates, identity and verification solutions, as well as deliver timely, proactive, and reactive customer support.
So, this time of year, in some parts of the country, anyways, here in the Northwest, one of the traditions is waking up at 5 a.m. after Thanksgiving and running off to a place called Fred Meyer and buying socks for 50% off. That's the big thing, very brick and mortar. But I have a feeling your survey is indicating there's some big shifts and differences now in the way consumers are actually intending to buy things this season.
Very much so, yes. Not to take away from that thrilling experience of waking up and storming the shop floor at 5 a.m., but we're seeing that shoppers are really interested in getting deals earlier. And so that means knowing ahead of time so they can plan their shopping experience, be that in person or online, becomes more and more important. We were just chatting about the fact that it feels early, but in fact, if you are actually a retailer planning for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Christmas, you're behind. Most people actually want to hear at least a month in advance of what those good deals are that they're going to be able to snag come, the holiday season. So definitely you need to start thinking about getting your deals out there early and letting people know what those big promotions are going to be. We're also seeing more desire to actually go conversational. And so what that essentially means is when you think about your classic shopping experience, it was very much a one-way promotion. You get that email and it says 20% off socks or 50% off socks. But what happens if I want to know, well, do you have my size? Or what about this new color or pattern that I saw? Do you have that in the store that's right around the corner from me? So shopping experience is going to become more conversational. And that means brands actually have to be prepared to respond to customer questions. And we're seeing with that a rise both in usage of chatbots as well as usage of conversational messaging channels like WhatsApp and RCS.
So what's happening is that I love that language. Linear was you actually got a physical newspaper, right? And it said socks 50% off. You're saying now you're meeting the consumer where they are, probably on their phone, and then they want to talk to you in a way. They want to experience. They want to know about the socks. They want to know what the colors. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Yes.
All right, and you're saying also that that is also where what consumers are sort of expecting. In other words, they're just sort of expecting it to come, that they'll be able to have these experiences, they'll be able to actually learn about the product and not just sort of buy it blindly.
Very much so. Yeah. If you think back to how, I feel like omnichannel was always the trend word when it came to marketing and promotions. And we're actually seeing a shift from omnichannel to optimal channel. We need to stop just blasting messages and broadcasting the same message across every possible channel. What customers actually want at the end of the day is something that's relevant and personalized on the channel of their choice. And so that ultimately means that they do want to both have a say in what channels you're reaching out to them on, but they also then want to be able to respond back to you. And that is now, that's definitely a new trend where businesses and brands have to rethink, how do they provide that type of infrastructure? Maybe they don't have the right chatbot experience. Maybe they haven't yet enabled WhatsApp or RCS for their customer base, but consumers are expecting that.
Well, let's also, before we move on, what actually is optimal channel? Is that what it is? As opposed to
That's what we're calling
omnichannel?
it. So I would say we're seeing this shift, from omnichannel to optimal channel. And the optimal channel is highly personal. So unfortunately,
Okay.
there's no silver bullet. But of course, there are trends that we're seeing, both generational trends as well as situational trends. And what I mean by that is, depending on what situation you're in, people are more or less likely to use certain channels. Now, email still reigns king, of course, when it comes to promotional updates, as well as transactional updates. But we're seeing more and more that especially younger consumers actually prefer messaging. So that could be SMS, RCS, WhatsApp, depending on the location. But to your point, they live and breathe on their phones. So that's exactly where they want to get those updates. And inboxes, especially email inboxes, are getting overwhelmed nowadays. So knowing exactly what message to focus on becomes harder in the email inbox.
Now, the United States has been somewhat behind the rest of the world in the adoption of WhatsApp. So that
Yeah.
means that, probably proprietors, probably the customers of the customers that we're talking to are less active with that app themselves, which often makes implementation slow. But you're saying even in the United States and Canada, WhatsApp is going to be a more and more prominent part of this season.
We're seeing an increase in WhatsApp usage, absolutely. But I agree with you. It's still more geographically centered around LATAM, Europe, and then APAC. So North America isn't quite there yet.
Right.
However, what we are seeing is a big increase in RCS. I don't know if you're familiar with RCS, but essentially it is text messaging 2.0, if you will. You will have an app-like experience within your native messaging app. So just like you receive an SMS today, you'll be able to receive a rich message. And that means you'll have carousels, buttons, scheduling opportunities, all right within your native phone interface. You don't need to download an app. You
Right.
don't need to log in anywhere. And that's what we're going to see an uptick in, for sure, in North America.
I'm glad you talked about that because I think I don't want to say apps are so yesterday or something like that, but as people, there may be products and things. No one really wants to download an app for a one-time purchase. I
Yeah.
think that's probably true. And so what you're saying is RCS provides an opportunity now for a more niche kind of retailer to basically engage, let's say Sophie, one time.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the product. She's able to look at it, make a purchase, and it enables these other things too, to experience some interactivity, to find out about the product and so on.
Exactly. Yes. It enables that two-way conversation. So instead of just getting that email that says 20% off socks, now you might get an RCS message on your phone. And I could go back and forth and say, great, I love those socks. Do you have them in blue and in my size? Wonderful. And now we've aligned on what socks I want and how many pairs I want. I could then get a payment link directly within the same interface. I can make that purchase. I can confirm the shipping address. And then if I actually need to make changes for whatever reason, I could do that all within the same experience. And that's not just convenient, it also actually gives a more secure and trusted experience for consumers, because there's obviously an increase in fraud that we're seeing and spam messages across the board. But RCS allows vendors to have a verified profile, which means you'll actually see, similar to like you see in other areas, like there'll be a claimed little check mark, so you can know this is actually an official business. You'll see their logo. You'll be able to find out more about that business as well. And so that way you know exactly who you're interacting with, making it feel much safer.
Now, then you talked a little bit before we started our podcast today about brands and AI, and it was interesting that that's where AI popped up in our conversation today about Black Friday. I wasn't expecting that it would be part of branding.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're seeing this shift to people wanting to have more conversations, they want more personalized and relevant messaging. This is becoming harder and harder to achieve through your standard ways of communicating with customers. Think like, your traditional outreach campaigns where you had static lists and you had one or two variants. Now we're very much moving to a world where it's almost segment of one marketing. Every single individual
Oh,
has different preferences or desires, both in terms of how they want to be communicated with, but also how they've interacted with you in the past. So understanding the relationship history and conversation context from previous conversations and being able to pull that into today's shopping experience really will be a game changer. And we're going to start seeing some brands take advantage of that this year, but much more so next year and beyond.
if
So,
I'm watching, oh, I'm sorry.
oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, a simple example could be chatbots. Sometimes we don't equate chat or voice bots to AI, but that type of automation and pulling in that intelligence absolutely is crucial for these types of experiences. And while people still are a little wary of using AI, there certainly are quite a few experiences where shoppers are very happy to interact with a chatbot. And that's things like tracking my order or being able to learn more about a product, returning an item. Those simple kind of low risk transactional type of experiences are definitely going to be key.
It's interesting that we're here with the chatbot because it sounds like also this is the point of connection where we're learning here might be applicable to B2B people that are not necessarily connected that much to Black Friday or to the
Mhm.
consumer shopping experience. But I'm thinking about the vast number of readers that we have that serve organizations that are attorneys or accountants or business organizations that are not really part of the Christmas holiday consumer thing. It sounds like there's lessons here, things to know that can apply there too.
Absolutely. I would say the same trends and lessons apply across the board. The main difference would be that we often see retailers, they have more flexibility, let's say, when it comes to communicating with their customers. You can get a little bit more creative in the types of campaigns and the messaging you put out there because it's not as regulated than if you work in healthcare or financial services, for example, or if you're selling to a business audience. But that shift of omnichannel to optimal channel, that's the same thing. Shift of sending highly personalized messages absolutely is the same thing as well, because we're starting to see this trend where
Hmm.
we used to talk about personalization being key, and it still is. Don't get me wrong, that absolutely is a major thing that customers want. However, having too much data can sometimes backfire because we're actually seeing a 43% increase in consumers reporting that personalized messages are starting to feel invasive. So brands are now having to figure out how do they toe that line between sending something that's relevant but not sending something that's creepy.
Yeah, and overwhelming. And I have a feeling as you were talking, I was sort of thinking about if you're like me, you used to really pay attention to when a text would come in
Hmm.
because it was rare and it was probably from someone you knew. Now you have the experience on a busy day of finally looking at your phone and there's 15 messages sitting there. um, so we can overdo it with this, right? In other words, it sounds like you need to do this very thoughtfully.
You absolutely do. Yeah, you can overdo it. That's actually one of the biggest pain points we hear from customers, that they're saying they're getting too many messages and too many that are irrelevant to them.
But
So
it
that
sounds also like you can use the AI technology to do this in a smart way.
you can. I would say that's where this whole segment of one marketing comes into play. You'll need to make sure that your data and tech stack is connected. And again, this applies not just to retailers, but any company out there that's thinking about how do I effectively communicate with my consumer base.
Sophie,
So
you're the product marketing senior vice president at Cinch. Why don't I let you talk a little bit about what Cinch does? What do you guys do that helps people do all this?
yeah, absolutely. So we offer the infrastructure that allows companies to send out any type of communication, be that emails, be that any type of message, like I said, SMS, RCS, WhatsApp, you name it, or making voice calls. So we partner with customers to help them understand what is their use case. Let's take marketing campaigns, since we're talking about shopping experiences, and then we will support them to understand what tech stack do they have today, how can we connect to their existing technology stack, be that their MarTech platform, be that their CRM system, understand what types of data points they have from there so that we can create truly personalized experiences for their customer base.
Well, Sophie, I really want to thank you for joining me today. This has been really interesting. We could go on, but I can't believe we just did our first basically Christmas connected podcast, but it's going to be the first of many. This has been very insightful. This is a really good conversation opener. I hope we get to talk to you again maybe later this quarter to see actually how that survey is comparing to what's actually rolling out, what consumers are saying, and so on. But for now, where can we learn more about Sinch?
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to come back, Doug. If you want to learn anything more about Sinch, just head to our website. It's sinch.com. So that's SINCH.com. And we have a full ebook out there right now, all about retail trends, but we've also customized that for other industries, including healthcare, financial services, and tech overall. If you want to learn what the best brands are doing, as well as what consumers are expecting.
And so in other words, the survey is right there. If you go to cinch.com, you can take a look at that.
It
Take
is,
a look
yes.
at some
We've
other
made all
solutions.
the data public.
All right. Well, everybody, get up to date. Take a look at cinch.com. Sophie, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Thank you, Doug.